Hey, man, I kind of been chilling since Tom Brady retired. You know what I mean? My son got to 7 rings. He accomplished everything he needed to accomplish. Multiple dynasties, back-to-back championships, all-time leading passer and touchdowns and playoff records. But now I can understand that it's just Mahomes' era. So I don't got nothing to worry about, man. My GOAT is retired. He's out the picture. I'm just chilling. I know my franchise sucks. I know New England ain't gonna make no moves, no real splashes. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But I just need people to understand that Patrick Mahomes just won back-to-back Super Bowls. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning his name, because you saw the thumbnail. Same way I saw the thumbnail. I'm trying to understand, why is Justin Jefferson a part of any conversation that involves Patrick Mahomes? This man just won back-to-back championships playing with scrubs. I'm just gonna call it for what it is. Like rookies, young niggas that aren't really established. They're not really scrubs, but you know, Juju was and all that, to be honest. And MVS this year, like let's be real. We're talking about a bunch of 69 overalls. But why is Justin Jefferson being brought up in this? Why is Justin Jefferson even out here available? Bro, if Minnesota fumbles JJ, if y'all gonna have to deal with this, bro. Why am I hearing Justin Jefferson and Patrick Mahomes? We're about to get right into this video. Hit the like and subscribe button, because I honestly can't even believe this shit. I gotta hear what my boy Microphone gotta say.
11-3. They're next year's first rounder and Justin Jefferson.
All the time. Give me the last top 5 quarterback that flipped a bad football team.
The Minnesota Vikings are in an unprecedented situation. They currently have one of the most transcendent superstars on their entire roster. An upcoming contract negotiation with 2 of the team's most important players can completely shake up the Minnesota Vikings and the entire NFL. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! But the one that I Prize Picks on Prize or the sponsor made a
appreciate you, Microphone, but come on, man, we here for the news.
During the 2017 season, behind their quarterback Case Keenum, and as a result of a moment dubbed as the Minneapolis Miracle, the Minnesota Vikings made it all the way to the NFC Championship to face off against the Philadelphia Eagles, where they would get decimated 38-7. But during that offseason, it became abundantly clear this team was a competent quarterback away from potentially making a Super Bowl run, and as a result, they decided to go all in on the best available quarterback option at the time. Kirk Cousins was coming off of an incredible year for the Washington Commanders, and in 2018, the Minnesota Vikings signed him to a fully guaranteed 3-year contract worth $84 million. Unprecedented for Kirk Cousins. His first year with Mike Zimmer wasn't necessarily the greatest. They went 8-7-1, but in the year following that, we got a glimpse of this team's potential. They made it to the playoffs, won in the wild card, and then would lose 27-10 to the San Francisco 49ers. And the year after, they took a huge step back, going 7-9 before making their greatest decision in recent memory. During the 2020 offseason, the Minnesota Vikings made the bold decision to trade disgruntled wide receiver Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills for their first-round draft pick. With that draft pick, they took a chance at LSU wide receiver Justin Jefferson, and the results were incredible.
Took a chance.
I don't think I've ever seen a trade like this before in NFL history. Justin Jefferson hit the ground running almost instantaneously and put up bizarre statistics. In year 1, 1,400 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. In year 2, 1,600 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. In 2022, he had over 1,800 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns. A little bit more on that later. But in terms of total team success, during the 2021 season, the Minnesota Vikings would fail to make it to the playoffs before firing Mike Zimmer and bringing in Kevin O'Connell. In year 1 of the Kevin O'Connell era, the Minnesota Vikings were one of the best teams in the NFC, finishing 13-4. But they would lose in the wild card round against the New York Giants. And in year 2 of the Kevin O'Connell era, the Minnesota Vikings would have a very, very tough start, finishing 1-4 within the first 5 weeks of the NFL season. But following their 1-4 start, they would go on a 3-game winning streak before tragedy would strike the team. Kirk Cousins would go down with a season-ending injury. This is despite him having a record-breaking season for the Minnesota Vikings, or at least being on pace to do so. In 8 games, Kirk Cousins threw for over 2,300 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Now, the Vikings would continue their winning streak, bringing in Josh
That boy
Dobbs
Kirk Cousins was slicing and dicing.
Cousins before winning only 1 game for the remainder of the season. So when you think of the Minnesota Vikings, the top thing you think about is what if? What if Kirk Cousins was healthy for the whole season? And that is a question that they had to carry in with themselves to this offseason. But on top of that, the Minnesota Vikings are in a very difficult situation. Justin Jefferson is up for a contract. contract extension. Jefferson was injured this past season as well, but he still was able to go over 1,000 receiving yards when he only played in 10 games this season, which is insane if you think about it. With that being said, the Minnesota Vikings have a very difficult decision to make this offseason. Not only do they have to make a decision on their free agent quarterback, Kirk Cousins, but on top of that, Justin Jefferson is up for a contract extension. If you guys remember, 2 years ago, during the 2022 NFL offseason, we saw one of the craziest offseasons in recent memory. Russell Wilson got traded, Deshaun Watson got traded, Tom Brady retired and then unretired, Khalil Mack got traded, but it was a very big offseason for wide receivers as well. Christian Kirk got a huge contract from the Jacksonville Jaguars and completely reset the market. This resulted in many...
I ain't gonna front. I didn't agree with necessarily, you know how it is in free agency. Everybody gets overpaid. But when I saw Christian Kirk potentially, I think Christian Kirk got $100 million deal, bro. I'm like, if Christian Kirk is getting this kind of bread, and it was like $60 million guaranteed. Now remember, you want to be the first to sign your players, or since we're talking about wide receivers, you want to be the first to sign your wide receivers when it comes to the wide receiver market. Why? Because everybody after that is almost guaranteed to get more money than the first guy. So if you have Justin Jefferson, if you have Jamar Chase, and a plethora of some of these other receivers that are due for a contract, CeeDee Lamb, you want to get that shit out the way quick. Vikings, you want to be the first one to sign Jefferson, because once CD and Chase get paid, come on now, Justin Jefferson is going to be looking for way more than both of them. So you want to get JJ first. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think JJ might wait till after these other guys get paid. Who knows? But yeah, last year when Christian Kirk got paid, I'm like, nah, bro. Like,
wide receiver ones finding brand new homes on teams that were willing to take the chance to pay them significantly more and build offenses around them. The question was it the quarterback that made the wide receiver or the wide receiver that made the quarterback? So you would see Davante Adams get traded from the Green Bay Packers to the Las Vegas Raiders. In a trade,
wasted his career.
Gave up a 2022 first round pick and second round
last
pick.
2 years
So
was
that
just a
would
waste.
be the very start. Tyreek Hill, a wide receiver that was widely considered to be the best wide receiver in the NFL, also got traded, but this time for 5 picks, a 2022 first round pick, second round pick, fourth round pick, and fourth and sixth round picks in the 2023 draft. Tyreek Hill would then get a 4-year, $120 million contract extension. Davante Adams would reset the market as well. And about a month later, the same would happen with A.J. Brown. The Tennessee Titans tried to recreate the same magic that the Minnesota Vikings were able to do with Justin Jefferson. But this time they tried doing it with A.J. Brown, trading A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles for the first round pick that would end up turning into Treylon Burks, which so far hasn't necessarily turned into the next coming of A.J. Brown. And the reason why this is significant is...
I'm not even gonna lie, the more I hear about this, Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, the more I'm like, hold on, will the Vikings trade Justin Jefferson, son? Considering some of these other superstar players that got traded just 2 seasons ago, bro, like that shit would be... if you would have asked me last week if JJ getting traded, I'd been like, Cap, there's no way. But I ain't gonna front. It's happened.
Those were unprecedented situations. But in those situations, you had wide receivers who have spent the bulk of their prime years on their respective teams. Tyreek Hill was going to spend his age 28 season in Miami, which, by the way, was still prolific. Same could be said about Davante Adams, who was spending his age 30 season in Las Vegas. But in the case of the Minnesota Vikings, what are you supposed to do when it's time to pay Justin Jefferson or Kirk Cousins? The last time Kirk Cousins was in this situation, he took a record-setting deal. So recently, Dan Orlovsky went on the Pat McAfee show and he suggested that the Minnesota Vikings do something that makes no sense at all whatsoever. Watch.
Entertaining of trading Justin Jefferson to somebody, New England, and going up and getting a quarterback for that, like trading Justin for that high pick and going to get a quarterback.
And while I do think this take is very questionable to say the least,
New
I feel
England.
like the problem that Dan Orlovsky is posing in this particular clip makes a lot of sense. The solution doesn't make a lot of sense. You see, according to Pro Football Talk, the Vikings are hesitant to give wide receiver Justin Jefferson fully guaranteed money after the first year in a new deal. It's not the dollars, it's the structure. They don't want to guarantee in full money beyond the first first year on a deal for anyone other than the quarterback position. You guys have to
they
understand,
they
fully
lowballing.
guaranteeing deals
They
for
lowballing.
quarterbacks in of itself is a brand new concept. The only quarterback in the NFL that has a fully guaranteed deal right now is Deshaun Watson. The quarterbacks that were up for contract extensions following Deshaun Watson have had trouble doing that. And it sounds like this is what Justin Jefferson's trying to get done for himself, which makes a lot of sense because he's 24 years old and had 4 of the most incredible wide receiver seasons we've ever seen in NFL history. So how does Kirk Cousins tie into this? Well, at the same exact time, you have Kirk Cousins, who is up for a huge contract extension, but he's also 35 years old, and there is a market for Kirk Cousins. And Albert Breer touches up on this in his article, starting by saying the viability of Kirk Cousins' impending free agency is highlighted by situations like Jimmy Garoppolo's. It's fun to think of Baker Mayfield switching teams or Garoppolo reviving his career somewhere. The reality is this: Kirk Cousins stands as the most viable veteran option for quarterback-hungry teams, even at 36, even coming off of a torn Achilles. Because of some creative timing in his contract, his current deal voids after the deadline to tag a player has passed, Cousins can't be franchised by the Vikings, so all he has to do to become available to the other 31 teams is, well, do nothing contractually until mid-March. At this point, it makes the most sense for him to do that. The current Minnesota Brass, now going into its 3rd season, really likes Kirk Cousins, but it's also been made clear that they're not going to do contractually where the previous regime did twice, and give Cousins a fully guaranteed deal. Absent that, Cousins is now in the position to hit the market like he did 6 years ago. Time older.
Ooh, okay, so that makes sense, because if now Kirk Cousins is primed to hit free agency, why are we maxing out a wide receiver who potentially might not even have a quarterback to help him hit the same numbers that he was hitting with Kirk Cousins? If we don't have Kirk Cousins, why are we maxing out Justin Jefferson? We're gonna ultimately give this kid maybe $150 or $200 million contract, and we don't even know what our quarterback situation is gonna be, or if we're even gonna win games. And then giving Jefferson that new salary, you kind of cap off the rest of your roster in terms of other positions you might need to work on and get depth at. So, yikes.
And of course, more injured. So what could be some fits for Kirk Cousins? Well, in this case, he's had success in Sean McVay's and Kyle Shanahan's offenses, both early in his career with Kyle in Washington and over the last 2 years under Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. And before that, Kevin Stefanski and Gary and Clint Kubiak would ostensibly make him an attractive candidate to join new offensive coordinators in Las Vegas like Luke Getsy, or Atlanta, Zach Robinson, who have strong ties to that coaching family. And then Albert brings up the B-level market and compares this to Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo, who did really well last year. I mean, Geno Smith got like $30 million. And if you think about it, if you get 40 or 45 million, that puts you below the top 10 highest paid QBs in the NFL. So I think it's very possible for them to do that. And I think it's possible that Kirk Cousins leaves as a result of that. At the end of the day, you pretty much need to make a choice between Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. And I don't think anyone is expecting the Minnesota Vikings to choose Kirk Cousins, because trading Justin Jefferson is impossible if you think about it. What do you even accept in a trade package for Justin Jefferson? I mean, really think about it. A 30-year-old Devontae Adams got a 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick. A 28-year-old Tyreek Hill got a 1st-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, 2 4th-round picks, and a 6th-round pick. What does a 24-year-old Justin Jefferson that hasn't even hit the prime of his career?
2 firsts, easily. Maybe even 3.
Market? And that's where it gets really hard to figure out.
Yeah, ain't nobody giving 3 first-round picks.
And the trade scenarios that are even popping up don't really make a lot of sense to me. Dan Orlovsky suggests that the New England Patriots trade the number 3 pick for Justin Jefferson.
I'll take him.
You have to give up the number 3 overall pick. For
Listen, I'll take JJ.
Give him a record-setting contract. Why not just use the number 3 overall pick on Marvin
We'll figure out the
Harrison
rest.
Jr., who's going to be on a rookie-scale contract for the next 5 years. Another option is the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Kansas City Chiefs have to pay Chris Jones. They have Patrick Mahomes' cap hit coming up. Eventually, they're going to have to pay Trent McDuffie, and the Chiefs have done just fine with the offense that Patrick Mahomes had over the past 2 years. I would love to see Patrick Mahomes get Justin Jefferson, but the Kansas City Chiefs currently have the last...
Why'd he say I would love to see that? No, bro. That would pack up the NFL for the next 10 years, bro. Justin Jefferson is 24 years old. Like, 6 to 10 years. Like, nah, bro. That'd be a cheat code, son. Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson.
Pick in the NFL draft. So what do you give up for Justin Jefferson? 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks, and then you need to make him the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, in addition to Patrick Mahomes? I would love to see it as a football fan. It just doesn't sound realistic. And these are just a few examples. I mean, I guess the New York Giants could potentially make sense, but they have so many issues that it doesn't make sense to trade up for a high-end wide receiver right now. Maybe the Indianapolis Colts want to get Anthony Richardson some additional help. I mean, I think the only team that
we don't want to see him in Indy
for would be the Chicago Bears, and that's because they have a lot of cap space and a lot of assets, and even then I don't think they should go for it. But the problem is, even if the Minnesota Vikings decide to keep Justin Jefferson, what do you do to replace Kirk Cousins then? You have the 11th pick in the NFL draft. This year's NFL draft's prime quarterback prospects are Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. Then there's a significant drop-off. So maybe the Minnesota Vikings could somehow trade up from the 11th pick in this year's NFL draft into the top 3, maybe with New England. New England moves down to number 11, but at that point you have to give up like 2 additional first-round picks to swap your 3rd pick with the 11th pick. I'm assuming it'd be the exact same trade that the San Francisco 49ers made for Trey Lance during the 2021
No, we can't
draft.
sell out.
No matter what the Minnesota Vikings do at this point, a trade needs to be made to put themselves in a solid position next year, because you don't want to pay Justin Jefferson only to have some B or C tier quarterback throw him the football. And in order to avoid that, you need to get him a brand new quarterback via the draft. So it's a very tough situation. It really depends on what Kirk Cousins wants to do. It really depends on how much money Kirk Cousins is expecting, because at the end of the day, it's way more likely that the Minnesota Vikings move on from Kirk Cousins than from Justin Jefferson. If you're a Vikings fan, let me know what you think the solution to this problem is in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
I ain't gonna front. I wasn't even thinking about the Vikings during the offseason, but it's a compelling point. You have a 35-year-old quarterback coming up for torn Achilles, who's gonna demand guaranteed money, and like Mike pointed out, the new GM ain't trying to go about that fully guaranteed bullshit, bro. Like, at the end of the day, you're not bringing chips to the building. And if you don't have Kirk Cousins and JJ's due for a new contract, who's going to be the quarterback? Oh, shit. Yeah. Vikings, it might be time to hit the panic button, man, or charge up Dobbs for another season. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you think is about to go down, man. But this is Justin Jefferson's threat is real. Hey, man, if he ends up on New England, you know what I'm saying? We ain't mad. We'll take him. We'll gladly take him, bro. You already know the vibes. You already know the vibes, bro. You know what I'm saying? He could be the first step towards rebuilding that franchise and getting back to the glory days. Now we got Justin Jefferson. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Super Bowl ring number 7 loading up, man. But, wishful thinking. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. But hit the like and subscribe button for more content. I'm your host, Gabbo Say So, and I'm going to holler at you guys in the next video. I'm out.